Hey there guys, how's it going? We're getting into the streets of New Capenna and we're getting into the legendary creatures from this set. Alrighty guys, so we're getting right on into the streets of New Capenna, getting into the legendaries from this set. Quick note, I'm only actually going to talk about like maybe 5 to 10 legends in or from this set. I am going to talk about all the legends essentially in the set, but I'm only really going to talk about like 5 to 10 or whatever for the most part, because it just takes a lot of time to get through all these legends, and like half of them just aren't that interesting, are just like C's and D's and B's and whatnot, and just aren't that amazingly good. So I'm not going to waste your time with like just going through every single legend in the set, because again, we've done this for an hour or hours sometimes. So I just don't want to do that. I just want to get to like the 5 to 10 that I think these are the ones that are the best. These are the ones that are worth spending your time looking at if you want to build a deck around. And this is, again, where a lot of people go, well, you know, I want to build a new deck. Where do I start? What do I do? These are the cards that you should look at. These are the commanders that you should think about. I think these ones have a lot of synergy that you can work with, or some kind of build around, or something that, you know, at least you can go, okay, cool, I know where I'm going with this. There's something there. It's probably pretty powerful, or some of them are just straight up busted. Of course, there's always ones that are straight up busted and whatnot, but still, I don't want to go through too much of it because there's just too much to go through. So let's not waste too much more time and get right on into it. And as I said, I will be covering all of the specialty cards that are from the collector boosters and the set boosters in this. All of those cards will now count in this video and in the regular set video that we do here on the channel, and I will be changing that as well. But enough of that, let's get right into the legends. One of the first ones I want to talk about is Evelyn the Courteous. So courteous. 5 mana, Grixis Planeswalker, has Flash, which is pretty interesting. When it enters the battlefield or another vampire enters the battlefield, you can exile the top card of each player's library with a collection counter on them. Once each turn, you may play a card from exile with the counters on them. If the exile card is exile by an ability you controlled, you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast them. So this is your new Grixis I Steal Your Stuff deck. I think that a lot of people like this deck. Or this style of deck, this archetype, steal your stuff, whatnot. I don't particularly like it. I wouldn't like playing it because, again, like there's always, to me, that problem of like, oh wow, I exiled a mana dork, or I exiled 4 lands, or whatever it was. Like, oh boy, you know, like I didn't really exile anything too amazing. And even if I exiled something kind of okay, like the card's just not going to work with what I'm doing. Even though I'm in a theft deck, it sounds really cool to have something from each player or whatnot. But you know, if somebody's over there playing their enchantments deck or whatever, and then there's somebody else over there that's playing artifacts, like the artifacts aren't going to synergize well with the enchantments I'm stealing. Like, so to me, it's just like, well, I don't know. Like, if you've got somebody who's playing a strictly tokens deck or whatnot, it's like, oh, okay, well, I can steal your doubling season, and then I can steal your thing that makes tokens and make double the tokens. So that kind of does work together in that way sometimes, but just a lot of it, to me, finds its way into the pile of like, well, I don't want any of this because none of it really works together and none of it's really like my stuff, and it just doesn't do anything that much for me, and I don't have enough control over the things that I'm getting. Just to me, that's just the way that I always look at it. But I know other people are like, wow, free things, whatever. I don't care that it doesn't really do that much for me. It's a free thing that I can cast from my opponents because, you know, whatever. I can do that. and have fun with their things, because I couldn't be bothered building a deck that actually does anything except steal things or whatever. But whatever. You can tell I don't like these cards, can't you? But anyway, I still think that people would want to play this commander. And some other commanders that we're going to talk about in a sec. Benny. Barracks Zoologist. 4 mana, 3/2. Has Convoke, which is okay. Yep, sure. Convoke is a decent-ish mechanic. When we have lots of tokens and lots of bodies and stuff like that, we can get him out pretty much for free every single time. At the beginning of each end step, if you traded a token this turn, draw a card. So that's real good. This is any token, and it's each end step. So Smothering Tithe. What's that? You didn't pay? Oh, also get to draw a card. Well, thank you very much. Like, that seems incredibly good. So, like, I don't know, dude. This just seems like one of those cards that, you know, it's finally one of those commanders that I'd be excited for to build into mono white, because I'd want to try to build this as a tokens style commander. I think it can go into God Eterna or Ketra decks, which is sort of that sort of style of decks, but it could be its own sort of style of deck as well, making small tokens, making medium tokens, making big tokens, making treasures, making clues, making whatever, any kind of stuff that makes tokens. We want it. We want to generate at least one token per turn, even on our opponent's turn and whatnot, so we can draw cards on our opponent's turn. That is a really good effect. And whatnot. There's another enchantment that's from this set as well. From the commander's side of the set, that makes treasures for you if people have played 2 or more lands, and also draws you cards. That goes in this deck really quickly and really easily. It's an amazingly good card, and this is a pretty darn good card as well. I still would think that if you're in a Azorius, Esper, especially like Esper, there's that Esper enchantments and artifacts commander that also cares about tokens and flyers and whatnot. Alelia, so that could go in. This could go into that rather, and whatnot. There are a few other decks that are out there. There's that Jeskai commander that is it when you cast instant sorceries that you make a spirit, I think. There's some other commanders that are out there that would like this in the 99 somewhere. I certainly think it can fit into lots of 99s as well. But beyond that, it's still pretty good. I just don't know. I just don't know whether people want to build into mono white. Maybe some people do because they want that challenge of going, wow, I can play like the worst color in Magic, though it's not as bad as what it was now, especially with the more support that they're giving it in this set and whatnot. But still, it's one of those cards that's just kind of like, yeah, they're finally given something to white, huzzah, but it's still, back in, I guess 2014 style of creating Magic cards in comparison to what white green is getting. So yeah, just it's a little bit underpowered if you look at it in that regard. But if you're looking in the regard of like what white's actually got in the last few years, this is probably one of the most powerful commanders that's out there. Certainly. So yeah, I would definitely think about this as a commander or in the 99 of any deck that's making tokens that's in white and whatnot. So yeah, I'd definitely consider this card as well. Briefly, this Gidea, Font of Hope, 2 mana Angel 2/2, Flying Vigilance. Doesn't really matter. You can tap it as add a white and spend this only mana to cast Angels. So it's a mana rock creature or a mana dork creature for Angels only. Each other angel enters the battlefield with an additional +1 counter on it for each angel we control. So this is like the ultimate angel commander, essentially. So I would really think if you want to do Angel Tribal, especially like Mono White Angel Tribal, this is your commander to go. Jixus, I think, is quite interesting, though I have a slight question with it. Can you actually cast it for its Bliss cost from the command zone? You cast this spell for its Bliss cost, so it doesn't say that you have to cast it from hand, so I'm assuming that you can cast it from the command zone for its Bliss cost, which means it's a, 3 mana, 3 mana to get a token that's a copy of a thing that you control, and then that thing gains haste. So if you have some big, scary, beefy things or something that's going to do a whole lot of work for you that you can copy, then that'll be pretty darn good. And then then it'll die, and then you'll get that draw card out of it. I mean, I wouldn't want to blitz this thing too many times as my commander, even though that if that does get around the not around the command attacks, but you can pay that instead of paying 4 plus 2, essentially. So I can still pay 4 mana for this as a blitz with the command attacks, and then pay 1 to tap it and create a token that's a copy of a thing. I also would want things that get things back from the graveyard or copy things in graveyards and whatnot, because you're going to discard a lot of cards, and you'd want a lot of card advantage with a card like this, or a lot of graveyard interaction and whatnot. But I do think that this is interesting, at least, especially if you can blitz it from your command zone. That could be very interesting. Otherwise, I'm not too sure really what you can do with it. You can create copies and clones of things, which can be useful, but they do go away. But if you can untap this or copy the ability a couple of times, then that starts to get really good, because I think like building around that, making token copies and things like that will be really good and really powerful, and especially if you can double up those copies and whatnot, that'll be really good. So I do think that there will be people that want to build around this. It might be pretty interesting, though it is mono red, and I always say you shouldn't build too many monocolored decks, but Krakow is real good, and there are some mono decks that are pretty good, but I still wouldn't do it myself. But still, I do think there are people out there that might want to try it. I just want to talk about Gidea Faye Jetme's second for a few seconds here, because this is basically another Ren and Seri style commander. It's not exactly Ren and Seri, but it's basically Ren and Seri. If you were playing the Ren and Seri style deck where you tried to get cats to make dogs or dogs to make cats and all of this, I think that this is a better commander for doing kind of what you're doing for the most part, just making cats, making dogs. If you want to play your best friends or best pets tribal sort of commander, this could be a good option. The cats are much more aggro. Get in there with the haste when you're ahead and whatnot, and just smash people's faces with those hasty cats. And lots of them, and whatnot, from making those tokens. And, if you're behind, you make those dogs that, you can protect you, and, a bit more defensive, still can get in there and do some damage, but still sit back and, kind of help you out, defend you, whatnot. So I do think that there's space for some sort of token deck around this, but you want to be focused on making those cats or those dogs. Or not making those dogs, but like making the tokens to make the dogs. So you're just making any token basically as cheaply as possible to create whatever you need, and get out there on the board with those cats and those dogs, to try to win the game with those cats and dogs that you will love so much, and whatnot. So yeah, I definitely think there's space for it. Don't suppose I have to talk you guys into thinking that Jetme is pretty good. I'm not 100% sure what the best build path is, as I sort of went through that tokens build with you guys a little while back. I do think that that's kind of probably the best way to go about it. Just getting to that 9 is not that hard. Like, we've seen how easy it is to get a send and whatnot. So I do think that it's a pretty easy commander to just go tokens with. I know some people might just go, well, it's a cat, or a demon or whatever. So obviously it's demon tribal somehow, or obviously it's cat tribal somehow. Like, you could still do, like, maybe cat tribal. I don't know how many demons there are in these colours. There's certainly maybe some in red. That's probably about it. But yeah, certainly there's a lot of cats in Selesnya colours. I don't know how many there are in red, so I guess it doesn't matter too much because people will just probably do it anyway because that's all the cards do, obviously. Oh, what's the creature type? Cat. Okay, cat tribal, that's it. Whatever other bonuses are on it, that's what the deck is. Cool. I don't know. This is one of those funny things. But again, you see so many of commanders that are just like that, like Saskia and things like that. It's like, wow, like, it sounds funny and cool in a sense, but it's just like, oh, well, could do so much more than just like, well, whatever tribe's on the card, slam them, whatnot. But then again, yeah, you can do it still. Whatever. Anyway, we'll move on to more commanders because I already kind of covered this one and whatnot. So, yeah. I don't want to talk about Quizetta too much, but I do think it's pretty interesting, at least for the aspect of it's finally giving you a proper, like, concise, clear, like, win condition with your commander for doing what these colours want to do, which is just kind of durdle and draw cards. Like, I know that there are some cards that were in these colours and whatnot that would help you with a win condition, but often you would have to find them in your deck. You'd have to tutor for them, and as soon as they got killed or exiled or whatever, you wouldn't have access to them anymore. And again, you'd only have like one or two of these effects in these colors and whatnot. So again, you just like quickly run out of ways to realistically actually kill people, and you'd just be sitting there going, well, I can counter stuff and I can kill stuff, but there's no way for me to actually like win, or I can board wipe, or I can do this other stuff. But this actually is in your command zone. You can keep recasting it even if it dies or gets even like saying, yeah, sure, it'll cast 50 mana at certain points or whatnot. Like, at least it's something, like, like at certain points to be like, well, at least I can weaponize, me doing what I'm trying to, just do naturally in the game, just durdling around and not really doing a whole lot, being annoying, and whatnot. But there's certainly other effects. You still probably want a lot of those other pinging effects in your deck and whatnot. There's that thing whenever you gain life that you draw a card, so that basically goes infinite with this. That big beater dude, that's, I think it's Demir, is he? I think, or is it whatever? Yeah, and that just goes infinite with this. So that's just like, well, there's an instant combo with your commander, which is real good because one half of the combo essentially is in your command zone. And of course, these colors have numerous tutors to try to get the combo together. So that's pretty interesting to get those together if you really want to do that. Though I would just rather just like have draw cards tribal, I guess, for the most part, and try to do as much damage to my opponents as what I can to a degree with this. Not that that's too interesting to me, but that's probably where you'd want to take this sort of a commander. So we'll move on to more. I want to talk about essentially reverse hair trick. I think that's where it was, wasn't it? Oh, no, I don't remember now. Ringo's Streetwise Mentor. Enters the battlefield, shield counter on it. Yep, sure, fine. Like, we've talked about how good shield counters can be. That's just fine. But whenever you attack a player with, or a planeswalker with a creature with power 1 or less, you draw a card. So you want to load your deck up with these, flying men effects, or these, small power evasive creatures that you can just get in there with, and essentially 1 or less, and whatnot, so that you can get in there and hit people. And maybe if you have double strike and things like that on your creatures, that's good because double strike doesn't change their power, but they hit for more and things like that. And get in there and just draw cards, and have all these low drop creatures. Just keep chaining them together and whatnot. Drawing more and more cards every turn and whatnot. So this is a very much Edric style deck and whatnot. So yeah, I do think that some people would want to build around this. Maybe Edric's fairly popular. This could be pretty popular, though. I don't know whether this is a probable top tier commander. Because it could be built pretty strong, and your curve is very low. So I don't know. Like that sounds like a recipe for a lot of stuff. I mean, blue's probably going to have the most stuff for you. Maybe white has more things than what I'm thinking about for the most part, but I don't think there's a whole lot. But again, like just having those colors and having the ramp options that green has, as we know, this will be a really good commander, I think, still, no matter what. So even if there's not quite enough out there for it, I do think it's quite interesting, can be quite good. But we have to move on to more things because we haven't got time to durdle. Alright, for right now, I think that's probably pretty much all the commanders that I want to talk about from the set. I think some of the other ones are kind of interesting here and there, but they're less interesting to talk about than what the other ones that I've already kind of talked about are and whatnot. So I'm just not going to take too much of your time to discuss them. So yeah, that's pretty much it from the set. So let me know which commanders you guys are interested in building around, and what you would want to build around from the set. What other commanders do you want to see me do deck techs on, like proper deck techs, or just like commander quickies or whatever, any of that sort of stuff, because that I know that's a lot of what people really want to see, just deck techs and that sort of style of stuff from me here on the channel, at least in regards to this, because everything else is not very popular. But anyway, that's fine. I'm glad that people know what they want, sort of, but I wish people would actually just say, hey, this is kind of what we want. As well, sometimes, hey, by the way, have you looked at this commander? Even though I might have looked at the commander, I might have misread it. There's a few commanders that are in this set that are a bit confusing, or there's even a few cards that are in this set that are a bit confusing. And even though you say reading the card explains the card, it's like, yes, I've read the card several times and I still don't understand what it's meant to be doing and whatnot. But anyway, that it is what it is. But if people do say, hey, no matter what it is, even if it's a card I don't think's that amazing or whatever, if people really want to see a deck tech or whatnot on a card or a commander or whatnot, I will do it no matter what. You guys, have that power, that control. Ask and you shall receive, as I've said many times. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, whatever you want as well in the comments below. I'll be sure to respond to all the comments I can. Really love interacting with you guys, talking about EDH and all the geeky things that we love. So yeah, I'll see you down there in the comments, so I'll see you in the next one.
Hey, you've just finished watching one of our videos. A bunch of other videos are popping up on your screen now for you to check out, so why not check them out?